How does a budget phone stand against a flagship? Every year budget phones are getting so better that maybe in some time the word flagship will only be confined to price. In this video, apart from reviewing, I'll provide an insight on the Moto G5 Plus and the Oneplus 3, covering vital points through the video so that it can help you get a clear picture about the performance of both the devices and to derive at a conclusion by the end of this video to see where the G5 Plus stands against a flagship performer. Hey guys, if this is your first visit to the channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm Abhi from TechXplicit. Let's get started. Now the reason that I want to do this face-off between the Moto G5 Plus and the Oneplus 3 is because the G5 Plus is a highly popular phone in the budget segment. It has been refined to a great extent when compared to its previous generation, and like we all know, the Oneplus 3 is an example of how a phone should be designed. So I'll push the G5 Plus to check how close it can get to a flagship killer across different aspects. Starting off with the build, both the phones have a metal unibody design and they feel sturdy and premium. So even though the price difference is huge in both the phones, you can get a G5 Plus at the same quality but at a lower price segment. So just because it's a budget phone, you will not have to compromise on the quality of the phone. Moving on to the sound output, G5 Plus matches to the Oneplus 3 in this area, as the output is almost the same on both the devices. In fact, G5 Plus has an advantage as the speaker is front facing. So I'll have to give it to the G5 Plus due to this reason, as the speaker on the Oneplus 3 might be covered by your hands, especially when playing games. Next up is battery backup, and yes, even in this aspect, both the phones are absolutely the same. Both the devices have a 3000 mAh battery, and they are nothing different in terms of backup or the screen on time that they provide. So even in this area, I have to watch for the G5 Plus as we get a similar utility at a lower price segment. Moving on to the storage, the Oneplus 3 comes with a 64GB internal storage, whereas the G5 Plus only has 32GB internal storage. Though it's less, it's not a loss, as on the G5 Plus you get a dedicated microSD slot, because of which the storage can be increased way beyond the Oneplus 3. As the slot is dedicated, one will not have to compromise on the SIM slot as well. So good job on that, Moto, and give a thumbs up if you like dedicated SD slots. Coming to the display, the G5 Plus has a slightly smaller screen at 5.2 inches and the Oneplus 3 has a 5.5 inch screen. Both are Full HD displays, because of which they are crisp and sharp. However, the G5 Plus has an IPS LCD screen and the Oneplus 3 has an AMOLED display. As I've used both the devices side by side, I can tell that due to the AMOLED screen on the Oneplus 3, it definitely looks a little better. But this factor by itself is not a tiebreaker. The cameras on both the phones are different. There is a 12 megapixel sensor on the G5 Plus, whereas there is a 16 megapixel sensor on the Oneplus 3. To keep it simple, for the price that one has to pay to buy the OnePlus, the kind of performance that the camera delivers is definitely expected out of the device. On the other hand, the camera on the G5 Plus is definitely promising and performs way above its class. In fact, it actually performs much better than most of the budget segment phones. The dynamic range that the camera on the G5 Plus can render and the image stabilization in the videos is definitely best in class, and unless you're keen on getting the OnePlus just for its camera, the G5 Plus is a worthy contender. Another aspect that I want to compare before I come to the performance is the fingerprint sensor. I can say that the sensor on the G5 Plus is almost a mirror of the sensor which is on the Oneplus 3. Both are quick and snappy, and the reaction time taken to unlock the devices is really fast, and trust me, both are really accurate in terms of recognizing the fingerprint. However, the G5 Plus has an added advantage, as the fingerprint sensor can also be used to lock the screen, and it also has additional swipe gestures which can be used to navigate. And I'm definitely impressed by the fingerprint sensor of the G5 Plus. So finally, in terms of performance, both the devices are powered by different processors, Snapdragon 625 on the G5 Plus and Snapdragon 820 on the Oneplus 3. They are also different in terms of RAM, as the G5 Plus is available at a 4GB variant and the Oneplus 3 is available with a 6GB RAM. So both the processors are really different and incomparable. Having said that, in normal day-to-day tasks, there is not much difference between both the devices, and I've also done a speed test for both, for which I've provided the link below. And amazingly, G5 Plus is very close to the Oneplus 3. The raw power of the Oneplus 3 can only be evident with performing intensive tasks like rendering videos, etc. Now there is not much difference in handling day-to-day apps or games. So this difference is very low for normal users for the variation in price of both the devices. I want to conclude by saying that G5 Plus is an awesome device, and except for people who are keen on the camera of OnePlus or people who like the wide range of software customizations available for the OnePlus 3, and fans of OnePlus, everyone else can vote for the G5 Plus if you're comparing with a high-end smartphone. This comparison makes sense as no other phone in the budget segment is comparable to the OnePlus 3 across all segments. So given the features that I've mentioned in the video, what are your inputs regarding the G5 Plus? Feel free to comment, and while you're here, consider watching my other videos for reviews, comparisons, and tutorials. As always, like the video, share, and do not forget to subscribe and click on the notify button to get updated as soon as a new video is live on TechXplicit. This is Abhi signing off. Have a good one.